Good morning, beloved. Good morning. This is the day that the Lord has made, and we are going to rejoice and be glad in it. I may appear to be a little bit off kilter today. I'm telling you, the enemy is at me on this morning. I was trying to position my phone, and my phone fell, and my S Pen came out, and it broke my S Pen. And I'm telling you, I am so angry. Sometimes you can't help but to laugh when you really want to cry. If it ain't one thing, it is another. Listen. On today, I want to talk to you about the buts in your life. The things that you say, but you don't understand what I'm going through. But you ain't never been there. But if you was in my shoes, there's the buts in our lives and those that are around us. And oftentimes it is the buts of our lives that keep Christ from entering in. And a lot of that, beloved, is because you have not grown to the point, and I don't mean this as an indictment, but there's a maturity place that God is trying to get us to as the body of Christ, so that we can address the buts in other people's lives. I was in a situation a while back, and a brother was talking to me. He was doing a job, and he said, we live in real life out here. We live in real life out here. And he was referencing, trying to make a point that I didn't know what that was like, that I could not identify with the buts, with the reality. People want to know nowadays, because Jesus is not popular, they want to know if you are relatable. They want to know, is there anything in you that can connect with where I am or with where I've been? Can you speak to that? And so people don't want to hear about your big church. They don't want to hear about the bank account. They don't want to hear about how many members you got. They don't want to hear about all the houses and the floss, the glitz, the pomp and circumstance of being in the body of Christ. They don't want to hear about that. I mean, actually, Christ is not popular today. And so in order for us to make him popular, we have to connect with where people are so they can feel us. And so I haven't just now started to hear that rumbling and that noise, as it were, that static that's out there that is putting up this wall of resistance to keep people from engaging, to wanting to lend an ear to what the gospel has to offer them. I've been hearing this for a long time. And not only have I been hearing this for a long time, I have been seeing the issues with it. And as a result of it, I have become somewhat disgruntled as well, because I feel as if we can do a better job at what we do. Our presentation can be better. I'm not talking about a presentation before the cameras. I'm not talking about a presentation in the schoolroom. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a presentation with our lives. Our lives need to be more presentable for the world to see a real, live, powerful, living God. They need to be able to see it, because up until this point, we have not done a great job at that. So I want to bring your attention to the book of Ephesians. And we're going to just read one scripture. We're going to talk about other scriptures, but we're going to read just this one scripture. And it is found in Ephesians, the 3rd chapter, and verse 13. And it says, "Wherefore I desire that ye faint not at my tribulations for you. Therefore I desire that you faint not at my tribulations for you." I desire that you faint not at my tribulations for you. Then it says, which is your glory. He says, I desire that you don't faint at my tribulations for you, which is designed for your glory. It's designed for your glory. So if I could extract a topic out of this text today, the topic would be, it's for me, but with you in mind. Yeah. It's for me. I'm the one that's got to go through it. God is going to deal with me in the process. God is going to fortify me. He's going to talk to me. He's going to strengthen me. He's going to encourage me. He's going to help me walk upright. He's going to help me walk straight. He's going to help me figure it all out. But with you in mind. With you in mind. Now, this particular message it emerged out of a question that was presented to me years ago. I was going through a very difficult time, and not only was I going through this time, but my family was going through this time as well. And my daughter, my middle daughter, after she got to the point to where she could talk to me, after she got to the point to where the anger had subsided so enough to where she could communicate to me again, because she was angry at me. She was not only angry at me, she was angry at God. And one day, I'll never forget it, we were on the phone talking, and this was after my marriage had just went like cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, and it was a disaster, and it failed, and everything else that you could mention out of it. And my daughter was upset about it, and she said these words to me, and they still resonate with me to this day. And it prompted me to preach this message. It prompted me because her words are the words that a lot of people that are in the earth, a lot of people that are having eyes that are locked in on the church, that they're looking at, and they have this same question because they hear our rhetoric, they hear our preaching, they hear our teaching, and they're watching. And they're watching not what comes out of our mouths, but as Paul said, the conversation in our body language. The conversation, not what we say, but the conversation and what we don't say. And so my daughter said to me, she says, but Dad, where was God? She says, I want to know where was God when you and Mom was going through all that? Where was God when y'all was taking us to church every Sunday and dressing us up, and y'all was fighting in the background, but y'all was smiling at church and before the cameras and acting like everything was all right when we knew everything was a mess. Everything was a mess. She says, where was God? Why didn't God help us? Why didn't God help us? Why didn't God come through for us? Why didn't all the preaching that we heard and all the prayers that you sent up, you and Mom, and all the times that y'all was on y'all knees and y'all called us in to get around the bed and all that, why didn't God rescue us? Where was God? Where was God? It reminds me of one of my boys, and he preaches the gospel. And he went through a very similar situation, and he said, Donnie, he says, he's on the phone. He says, my wife said this to me. She says, and all that church, where did it get you? Where did it get you? And that is the resounding issues in the earth today. People want to know, where is the power of the church? Where is God in all of this? Where is he? Can you locate him? Is he taking a nap? Did he go to sleep? Is there any light at the end of the tunnel? Where is God? Where is he? Where is he when my family is broken up? Where is he when all the hatred is in the world and they keep on killing these black men, these black boys? Where is God? Where is God when they keep on taking these little girls and selling them, prostituting them, making money off of them, off of their bodies? Where is God? Does he not care? Is it real? Is it real? Because if it ain't real, shut up. If he don't care, then just because, see, this is the keep it real generation, right? And everybody, they want to see authenticity. Don't give me this facade type of God. Don't give me no God just to pad your pockets so you can go on vacations whenever you want to and ride in whatever cars, own whatever cars and houses that you want to because you got a real slick tongue. I don't want to hear about that. I don't care about your furs and your diamonds. I don't care about that. These people these days ain't into all the floss. They ain't into all that. They are looking for a life. They're looking for a life. And so, as the old preachers used to say, I rose this morning to talk about us presenting to the world a life. And so here it is. Paul now is talking to the folks at Ephesus. He's talking to them. And see, here's the thing that we got to understand, because what God is trying to do, everybody can't handle it. Everybody. So it's very discreet how we navigate through this issue in our life. It's very discreet. And so Paul was here, and he was in prison. He was in prison. It reminds me, because see, prison qualified him to write. Woo, Jesus, I feel this. Prison qualified him to write. It wasn't his education. It wasn't him being able to speak 14 different languages fluently. It was prison that Paul wrote almost 2/3 of the New Testament from. Not the plushness of his lineage, of his heritage. It wasn't that. It wasn't the fact that he was connected to the Pharisees and he knew people. It wasn't that. It was prison. It was prison. They qualified him. I remember a young man, and he didn't mean nothing by this, but we were talking, and this was during a time when he had me hid. And he was talking to me. And as he was talking to me, I couldn't explain what was going on in my life. I couldn't explain what was happening in my soul and in my spirit. And they were not spiritual enough to have eyes to discern. And why should they? We were just talking. We were just friends. And it was in a carnal sense. And I don't mean that sinfully. I just mean it from a nature standpoint. But we were talking one day, and I forget exactly what happened. And he said, and I said to him that, I'm looking at maybe writing a book. And he said to me, because he did not know that God's hand was on my life, he says, who would want to read your book? Oh, Jesus. Help me preach this, Jesus. Who would want to hear your story? What is it that you got to say? What qualifies you to talk to me? What qualifies you to put a book out there in a sentence that I would want to read? What benefit is it in it for me? Write a book for what? Who will want to read your book, Donnie? Who want to read your book? And so Paul writes from prison. He writes from a place that prison was a very dark place. Ooh, I could talk about the dark places in my life. Oh, God, help me to stay track today. Prison back in those days was very tough. It was dark. They were sandwiched. They was compacted into this dungeon of a place filled with mice, filled with rats. They would get beat, and they would get beat in the cold. And as they would bleed, they would put water on them, mix with their blood, and put them on the outside so the wind could torture them. Then they would take their clothes off and keep them outdoors when the temperatures was rough. 20, 25 degrees, and I got water on me. They done beat me in the back with lashes. It was something to go through. Spit on, abused, mistreated to a place where you can't even imagine. And yet he was the man of God. And I'm complaining this morning because I dropped my phone and my S Pen came out of it, and I gotta buy another S Pen and spend probably a couple $100 for it, because it is a very integral part of that phone. And here I'm complaining about that. But when you think about some of the things that other people are going through that you ain't got to go through, you'll say, give me more. How many more SPNs do I need to buy? Folks that can't eat, folks that are living in and sleeping in the subways. Folks that ain't got no houses, ain't got no shelter. Folks ain't got no clothes. Babies out there that's starving. And you gotta complain. You gotta complain. But yeah, Paul was saying, I gotta go through it. I'm going through it. And as I go through it, don't you faint, because I'm going through it. Not it's for me, but God's got you in mind. And that's the part that we don't understand as we start to go through this journey. It's God that's talking, and it's God's will for our life. But he's got somebody else that is in mind. The word faint here means to be utterly exhausted. Utterly. He says to the folks at Ephesus, he says, don't faint at what you see. To be utterly exhausted, to be utterly dismayed. And that's the reason why sometimes God has to take us away. He says, because I can't let you see what I'm going to have to do in order for you to be helped. Yeah, he's helping me, but it's not only for me, it's for you too. My daughter said, where was God in all this? And we was praying, and in our prayers, God said, okay, I'm getting ready to answer. I'm getting ready to answer. But in my answer, it ain't going to feel so good. In my answer, it ain't going to look like me. But it's me. I am answering it. And I'm going to answer it through your persecution. I'm going to answer it through your affliction. You just ain't mature enough to see it. And see, here's the thing. The reason why Paul had to go to prison or to a place behind doors, behind the scenes where could nobody see him, could nobody get to him. The reason why he had to do that is one or two things. See, either the folks that are looking at you, like my daughter that was going to church, it'll make you turn your back on God because you say, where is God in all this? And if it's a God like that, then I don't want him. Or it'll make you, because of your love for that individual, you want to put your hands on it. You want to put your hands on it, and you want to save them from going to prison. You want to save them from going through the suffering. You want to save them from going through the persecution. Both are critical. Both are critical. And so we wonder sometimes, why does God send us away? We wonder sometimes, why is it that we be praying for our sons and in this day, even our daughters? And the answer is prison. I'm talking about literal prison. And they go in there, and when they enter, you can't see what they're going through. You might hear about it. You might see a glimpse of it on TV, but you can't see emphatically what they're going through. And that's how God processes us. You can't always see it. You can't always touch it, because if you could touch it, you would pull them out. But not understanding, if you pull them out, you short yourself of some glory. You short them of a lesson that God is trying to get to them. People are trying to figure out, where is God? And what God is saying is, let me take you through something so the world can see you for what I really am. But they can't see you like that. They can't see you like that. Why? Because you have a form of godliness, but deny the power thereof. I gotta keep you in hiding. I got to keep you in hiding. And so Paul was going through all these different channels, and I got to move. He's going through all these different channels, and couldn't nobody get to him. But the folks at Ephesus, they saw and they couldn't understand. Well, how is it that Daddy? This is Daddy now. This is Paul. Paul's in prison. He in prison, y'all. How can the man of God? How can he be in prison? How can God allow this to happen to him? He says, yeah, it's happening to me. And I'm going through it, and I'm gonna benefit from it. But I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it with you. I'm gonna do it with you in mind. Oh, it's gonna be with you in mind. And so I'm reminded in Psalms 119 and 71, and 119 and 71, and even my shirt today is indicative of this, and every time I see a shirt from this particular maker, it makes me think about a time in my life. And David was going through a difficult time, and because a difficult time in his life, because see, here's how it works: is either you are going through a suffering for the glory of God, you are going through a suffering because there's some type of sin in your life that God is trying to get out to try to make a correction in your life, or according to our text today, you're going through it so the church can get glory, or so those that are around can be glorified. Why am I in prison? I'm in prison so I can write the book. Why did you go through all that, Donnie, and your friend didn't understand? Well, I was going through all that so I could write the book. And so David says here, because David had a different issue, and he says, it was good. It was good. It was good because I kept finding myself. It was something on the inside that I kept wrestling with, and I was trying to get this out of me, and I couldn't get it out of me. That I would do, I do not, and that I do, I would not do. I find two members going on. They're active in my life, and who shall deliver me out of this body of death? And I've been praying about it, and God says, it seems like the only way that I am going to be able to answer your prayers is that you go through an affliction. And I can talk about the affliction after affliction after affliction. Oh, that's been in my life. And I'll talk about one. I'll disclose one, because for the most part, I'm a private type of brother. I'm a private. I don't talk a lot about my past and where I've been, but I remember God saying to me, if I can be exposed butt naked on the cross, all my privacy was out. All my tail was out. Exposed, and I didn't have no sin on me. I didn't do nothing. How is it that you can't tell a smidget of your story? But if I start to think about my testimony, and if I start to think about all the things that God has brought me out of, I don't know if I'll be able to finish this message. I don't know. I'll tell you about one part. See, I'm thinking about so many things right now. I can't tell you about the time that I was left after because of my issues, and I lost my family, and my wife at the time, she left, and then my children, they end up leaving me. And when they left me, they didn't know that the MS was at the all-time height in my life, and I used to go to work, and I couldn't hardly make it to work. I was walking, taking less than baby steps, and my boss was there, and she saw me, and I would have to get to work an hour early because I didn't have enough strength, or all I had was enough strength was to get from the parking lot to my office. And she was in her office, and she noticed, she said, something is wrong. And I had to share what was going on with me. And God gave her enough compassion to hide me for a season. And she says, you stay in your office because you can't be shown like this. If they see you like this, they're going to fire you. They're going to get scared because you become a hazard to our organization. They don't know what's going to happen to you legally. I can't tell you about that. I can't tell you about how when I used to get home from work, I would get home and I would go up in this house, and I would be at the other end of this room at this house. And all I had was enough strength was to slide down from my bed and look all the way this direction at the other end of the house. And I would stay there from 6 o'clock in the evening until the time to go to bed, 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night. Why? Because I didn't have enough strength to do nothing else. And I thought I was going to die. In fact, I was dying. I was dying. I got to the point where I said, I'm going in today and I'm going to tell them that it's over. I'm dying. Literally, I could feel life going out of my body. The MS had stricken me to that point. I was losing control. I was losing control with my memory. My dexterity was gone. I couldn't put my hand in my pocket to separate a nickel and a dime because my fingers wouldn't work. I was going through persecution and a suffering. And God took everybody away from me. And I thought God was being cruel to me. But he said, no, I am healing you. I'm trying to get something to you. And if my baby girl would have been around, she would have stopped it. Even though she was upset with her father, she wouldn't have been able to handle what I was going through in my life at that time. She wouldn't have been able to handle it. But now, oh God, it's for her glory. It's for her glory. Yeah, I went through it. Yeah, I went through it. But it wasn't just for me. And that's what God is saying. Yeah, you're going to be going through some things, church, but you ain't going through it just for you. I've got people in mind, and they want to hear people that's real. And so now I say like David, it was good that I was afflicted. I didn't know at the time that I was going through it. I thought that God had abandoned me. And I had the same question to God as my daughter had when she called me on the phone after her mother and we had split. She says, where was God? And I was saying, God, where are you? Where are you? Why would you leave me like this? I could tell you the story about I could tell you the story about when I was accused. I was accused, and it really wasn't an accusation. It was a time, a dark period in my life where I had really lost my mind. And I was, this particular house, I was no longer allowed to come. And so I was out of this house for over a year, and I was getting mail. And during that time, I had property everywhere. But I was so discombobulated, I was so messed up that I couldn't check on nothing. I didn't even see the mail that was coming here. I was disoriented. I was messed up. I couldn't believe that my life had went topsy-turvy. And the people downtown Cleveland, they were sending me letters because I had properties that I had let go because I could no longer tend to them. And I let these properties go. And so the city was coming by and they was getting paper and all kind of garbage and stuff out of my yard. And they were sending me memos say, go clean up that property. Go clean up that property. And I didn't see none of it. I ain't that kind of guy. Anybody know me? They know I'm business. So it had to be something wrong. I was sick. But even in that, after a year, they got a hold of me. And in that, it was too late. I had to go to court. And when I went to court, I got to move. And when I went to court, they gave me some options. They said, either you pay, I think it was $7,000 or $8,000. Either you go to jail for, I think it was 60 days in jail because of a violation of the code. That really, when you look at it, I didn't feel like I'd done nothing. Like Paul, I'm like, well, why am I in prison? I didn't even know. And had I known, y'all just picked up some paper out of my the yards on my properties, I would have took care of that. It wasn't about that. God was trying to do something, and to me, it felt cruel. He says, or you give me 1,000 hours community. I said, I'll take 1,000. Alex, whatever it is, I'll take 1,000 hours. I can laugh about it now, but I couldn't laugh about it then. And so in that, I end up going to a place down on 2200. Lakewood. I'll never forget it as long as I live. And I'm only giving y'all just a little bit. It is so much when you say, what can you write about? Ooh, my mind is running. My mind is running because there's so much when I was in prison. Prison ain't got to be the penitentiary. See, a lot of people say, well, you need to, no, prison for me wasn't that. But did I go to prison? Yes. Could I relate to those that are out there? Yes. Was I authenticated? Am I authentic enough to talk to you? Yes. I remember I went down and had to report in. And while I was down there, mind you this, I was corporate. I never been in trouble. I was a corporate man. I had enough money. I had stuff. I wasn't like them. Those folks that were staying down there in that facility, which was basically a halfway house. Those are folks that have been institutionalized, people that had been in drugs, people that had murdered folks, all kind of stuff that they was doing. I didn't live that kind of life. And yet I was in the midst of them. And I'll never forget, I was going down there and leaving work in a dress shirt, sometimes with a tie on. And people there, the way that they perceived me, they esteemed me. I was the man on the job. And I would leave there and I couldn't tell nobody where I was going. I'd leave there and go downtown, and I had a brand new vehicle that I had to hide and walk a half a mile from where my truck was parked at to go to this halfway house. to do community service for something that when I look back, it was like a dream. I had to pinch am I really living this? Yes, I was living it. And I would go and report in, and they would tell me, get that mop and bucket over there and go in that bathroom and clean that bathroom up. And when I would go in the bathroom, it was feces all over the wall, all over the toilet. Some of the men in there, they would write with doo-doo on the walls. And I had to do that for 1,000 hours every day after work. I would have to go down there, and I'd be down there until 11 o'clock every day until 1,000 hours was completed. And let me tell you something, while I was there, it taught me how to pray. It taught me how to be sensitive. It taught me how to depend on God. And I thought God was being cruel to me. So many stories. And while I was in there, I had to be careful because I could have been set up at any time. They knew I was different. They knew that. And so they were trying to be antagonistic while I was in there. Who was this boy? Who was this? They didn't know the corporate man. They didn't know what I was doing in the community. They didn't know that I was a man of God. They didn't know none of that. And when I went down, I couldn't tell them that. I had to go in there and be one of them. Be one of them. And I had to do that every day. And while I was there, I had to be strong enough not to allow the enemy, because it was a haven. It was a breeding ground to get you in the system. All they was waiting for was to pick a fight, waiting for me to do something wrong and say, yeah, well, yeah, you came down here. You think it was picking up for paper, but after we get done with you, it's going to be for stabbing a man or for fighting a man or doing this. Next thing you know, you in the system and you caught up. You another number. And when I look back now, it was God that kept me. It was God. It was God. And so, oh God, Jesus. And so we got to understand something. A lot of us, we're trying to preach the gospel, and we're trying to do this and do this and do this and do that. And we don't see it working. We don't see the church growing, none of that stuff. And why is that? Because see, here it is in Matthew 7:13, Jesus is talking. He says, straight is the gate. He said, there's a straight gate. And this is the problem that we got. This is the reason why we can't get to where we need to get and be productive as we need to be, because we keep on missing this gate, this straight gate. He says, straight is the gate and narrow is the way. I remember that when we went over to England, and we went to this old church that was probably, maybe 600 AD, maybe 1000 AD, something like that. It was old, wasn't ancient, but it was old. And we went on a tour. And when we was going on a tour, I remember the tour guide, he was trying to give us some instructions about this tour, and we was going to go up and do this and do that and all this. And I was like, listen, man, I don't want to be here in the first place. Let's get on with the tour. And as we started to navigate towards the door, towards the gate, had I been in the church by myself, I would have never found the gate, because the door was so narrow. And before we could start the tour, it was a locker room. It was a room that was full of lockers. Like he says, if you got any personals, your bags, ladies, if you got purses and all, he says, put them in this locker. Why? Because he says, where we're getting ready to go to, you can't get to that place with baggage. Woo, preach, Donnie, preach, boy. He says, you can't get to, you got to start taking some stuff off. Can I preach? Should I preach, Halo? Whew, I think I'll preach. He says you can't get to where we going with all that stuff. And what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that a lot of us, we trying to preach, teach, and be these so-called Christians, but not disciples with Louis Vuittons on. And with big bags and what it is weight. It's weight. It's weight of hatred. It's weight of I'm not concerned about you. It's weights. It's weights of I don't really care. It's weights. It's weights of I ain't got time. It's weights. It's baggage. And God is saying, as a tour guide, put it away. You can't take this through the straight gate. The gate is straight. In fact, if you didn't have my Holy Spirit as a guide, you would miss the gate. It's my Holy Spirit that's got to lead you to the gate. Whew, Jesus, help me. Help me preach it, Lord. And so a lot of us today, we don't understand that we in the way. And the Holy Spirit is saying, I'm trying to gather all these folks because I want to get them to the gate. But I got to deal with you. I got to deal with you. And the reason why I can't deal with the world is because you are in the way. You are. And so as we got to this gate, to this door, and I said, what is this? And before we got there, I had my chest out and I was like, come on, let's do this thing, man. Come on. I mean, how bad can it be? How tough can it be? How rigid can it be? And once I got there, whoosh, all the air went out of me. And I looked at the opening of it, narrow opening to get through. And then I got a peek because it's straight is the gate and narrow is the way. And so I understood now why he said, put your stuff in here. The stuff that you got can't go where we going. Put it in here. Can't go. It can't go. And so as I got through it, I got humble. Because now, as cool as I was and as much as I felt that I knew, I was trying to figure out how do I now navigate this process? Because he was taking us to a place in the church that was special. It was special. And you had to be of a certain posture to get there. I can't think of the name of the church. I wish I knew. But you had to be a certain posture to get there. And so I remember as we would go up these steps, and it was winding steps, and you would almost go up it like this. And you was going up steps, and you was going up, and you was going up, and you was going up, because narrow is the way, and few be there. Few. You couldn't get two people on the step at the same time. And I remember it was this girl that was kind of oversized, and I saw her there, and after before we went through it, I was like, she ain't gonna make it. And I was judging. And then I saw another girl that was slender, and I like, she gonna make it. And lo and behold, as we got to the first level and we got off to embrace this new world, as we got off in there, it was the woman that was large. She made it through that narrow passage. And the woman that was skinny, I could hear faintly. They said, why, we was asking questions. Why can't we continue on? And they said, because we're waiting. We're trying to calm this other woman down. She was claustrophobic. She had some issues. She was trying to deal with some things. She had to make some decisions about her life. She had to bring herself to a place to say, I am going to go up with Jesus no matter what. I'm going to go through the gate no matter what. And those that you think that ain't gonna make it be the very ones that do make it. And those that you think that should make it, those be the ones that don't make it. And the first shall be last, and the last first. Yeah, that's the way it was. Oh God, I gotta move. And so I'm just reminded of that. But we gotta get to a place to where we unload. And so people now they look and they see my glory. But baby, you need to read my story. You need my book. Oh, you need my book. Because if you want some of this, you got to put a whole lot more stuff other than some change in this machine in order to get some candy out, in order to get some glory out, is what God is saying. You got to put a whole lot more of it in there. You can't get what you want from me with your carnalness. Your little attitude to do what I want to do, church. Have it my way, church. It don't take all that, church. That's where we at. And God can't get no glory to those because of that. And certainly he can't get no glory out of it. Yeah. So you want this, you look at it now, whereas before you was mocking me and saying this, that, and the other. But now you see a glimpse of the other side and you want a piece of it. No, this is what it costs. You look at it and you say, I want to have the eyes that he's got. Spiritual. I want to have the mind that he's got with all the holes in my brain, and for God to be able to give me a message and keep my thought when the world says that I should have been depleted a long time ago, that I should not be standing, that I should be in a wheelchair. You want it? This is the way that you got to get it. This is the way you got to get it. You can't tell me about what it's like not to have a woman. I was delayed a long time. Oh no, I didn't go celibate for 3 months. It's been years. You talking about you want God. I went through a lot. I can't tell you all the health issues that I've had. I can't tell you all the health issues that I'm dealing with. And then you sit up there and you say, well, God healed me from this, and you went through it for 6 months. Well, yeah, you was a conqueror, and I applaud you for that. Thank God that God healed you. But a more than conqueror is one that God don't heal, and you still make it through. You still maintain your testimony. You still maintain your quality of life. And when others are complaining and you know that your situation is worse than theirs, you don't complain and you still help them get up from where they are. That's a more than conqueror. You want some of this? You want it? Do you really want it? Do you really want it? It's going to cost you something. It's going to cost you more than one lonely night. It's going to cost you losing your business after a prophecy. After a prophecy. After God tell you what you're going to have. See, it don't work like that. That's why I'm here, because I know now. I know what I didn't know before. And I had to go through it. I had to go through it. I had to lose everything to gain everything. I had to lose it. I can tell you stories. Trust and believe me. Oh, I'm going to write the book. I'm going to write the book. And so to y'all that are out there, weeping may endure for a night. Some of y'all, because this ain't everybody. I want to encourage those that are out there, and you can identify, you can relate to me. And you out there, you in the storm, and you saying, Lord, how long tonight? How long tonight? I'm here to tell you today that weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. See, here's the issue with that. Too many of us, we looking for atmospheric sight change. We looking for a contrasting difference in black to light. That's what we're looking for. No, what God is saying in that particular text is that when he says weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning, he's not talking about when the S-U-N comes up, but it's when the S-O-N shines in your life. When you can start looking around and you can start seeing the light of Jesus, the light of God, the light of victory at the end of all this, the light of your healing, the light of God responding to you through all this that you're going through all this COVID and through all this hatred and through all that, you got to start seeing the S-O-N. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning time. You got to be able to see it. You got to be able to see it, beloved. And so as I close, because I went over my time, as I close. So the question is, where, as my daughter said, where was God? Where was God? Where was God? God was there all the time. God was there. He was there. And that's what I want you to take away with this. God is there. God was there. God will continue to be there all the time. We got to be able to recognize God in the storm. Oh, I wish I could preach this message, but I gotta stop. Beloved, remember these words. The worst of your life, the worst thing that you're going through, the worst is over and the best is yet to come. Yes, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you, and I'm talking to you, and I'm talking to you over there, and I'm talking to you, and I'm talking to you, and I'm talking to all y'all. Your quality of life is getting better and better and better. You're going to live. It may seem like you ain't going to live. It may look like you ain't going to live. It may sound like you ain't going to live, but you're going to live. And again, I say live and declare the will, the voice, the message, the salvation, the faith of the Lord. Until we meet again, I love you. Ain't nothing you can do about it. Be blessed in Jesus' name.